Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
It's time for another daily dose of Dismal Disney.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about the fact that we had Josh D'Amaro. He was over at the J.P. Morgan Global Technology, Media, and Communications Conference. Not to be confused with the Moffett-Nathanson one that was last week, and apparently that was the new one. This is the one they've always had.
How much time do they spend going to these conferences?
A lot.
They should be working on the parks.
Well, some of them I think is just a web. Sometimes it's this web conference,
Okay.
but I don't know about this case. But he was at this event, okay, and then during his appearance, they had the one moderator there, and he asked. He's a J.P. Morgan media analyst and moderator. Phil, was it Kutik? I don't know. I'm sorry if I say your name wrong.
I'm sure he's listening.
He might be. So Phil here asked Josh. For those who don't know, Josh is the chairman of Parks, Experiences, and Products. He's in charge of theme parks. What was going on in regards to Florida? He said, has it hurt, your financials for the company in Florida in general? And according to Deadline, what his comment, Josh D'Amaro's comment was, he says, it has not. As you've seen in our results, the progress we've made coming out of COVID has been exceptionally strong. Now, I saw this and immediately thought, I got to write a story about this. Why would that be my response?
This would be your response because the only reason that Walt Disney World was allowed to stay open during COVID was because of Ron DeSantis.
Exactly.
Yes.
So they're like, we're still doing great because we survived COVID and came out of it strong. The only reason you came out of COVID strong was because of Disney Plus, and no one could go to the theaters and everything was there for your premiere charges and all that. And Walt Disney World being able to reopen because all the other theme parks Disney had weren't able to open for months. Disneyland didn't open until 2021. Like more than a year.
Oh yeah, it was like 14 months.
It was more than a year after they all shut down. California would not let them reopen. And California, they kept going after Governor Newsom over at Disney and throwing pot shots at him. So basically, it's like a child with a temper tantrum. If you don't do what they want, they're going to throw pot shots at you and act like a child. But I just thought this comment was highly ironic. Moronic, given that they only got to, what saved them was Walt Disney World and Disney Plus. And they had all these meetings for reopening Florida, and Disney would go. I think Josh D'Amaro was one of them. And ironically, the man they're suing, just joined the new board, that's the black guy, he was at those meetings too. And I know because I watched all those meetings.
Oh yeah, I remember watching this. It was on like this, whatever, Orange Sunshine channel.
Yeah, it was all teleconferencing.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they'd Skype in and do these meetings about opening Florida. And Florida, Disney World actually could open earlier than they did, but they waited to see if Universal was going to bite it before they actually, went in on it. And then they said that California, when they were fighting California, that California should let them reopen because they've proven themselves with Disney World. And California didn't, but Disney World did, and Disney World saved their ass.
Oh, I remember Bob Iger being very, very salty, and this is when he was chairman of the board. He was salty because he thought he had a deal with Newsom.
Yeah, he was going to call him on the phone that day.
Yeah, he was going to call, and then they got knifed in the back by Newsom.
Yeah, they got shut down anyway.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was going to write an article like, why the hell would you keep Disneyland open right now under the circumstances? And then they announced that they were basically being shut down.
Yeah.
And because of pressure, they were agreeing to shut down. But yeah, he was on the phone, wheeling and dealing, trying to keep it open in California. And then California wouldn't let him open Disneyland for like a year. It was months past when Walt Disney World reopened. So it was funny because I actually went out and found a comment from the New York Times. So then, New York Times on August 4th, 2020. Okay. Disney staggered by pandemic sees a streaming boom. But if you look in throughout the article, I have the quote right here. Despite the impact of the pandemic, Disney's share price has been remarkably buoyant, with investors overlooking near-term losses and focusing on comeback efforts, most notably the return of some sporting events and the reopening of the retrofitted Walt Disney World to a limited number of visitors. Walt Disney World reopening because Florida allowed them, saved their asses.
Yeah, if it wasn't Disney Plus and Walt Disney World, keeping the company afloat, like they would have been done. I mean, it was all the theaters were shut down pretty much. They couldn't run movies theatrically. Disneyland was shut down. The cruise ships were docked, and so those two things got Disney through the pandemic.
Right.
And a shit ton of loans.
Yeah, they had lots of loans, which kind of went away. But I just thought that was highly ironic that he says we have been affected. You're right. You have, but you're wrong. You have been affected by Florida. You got to keep yourself afloat because of Florida and because of the choices made in Florida, and the rest of the country and your cast members and stuff are protesting your reopening. They were like demanding that Florida, and Disney should just stay shut and all this other stuff. And you guys reopened anyway, even though your cast members asked you not to. Yeah. You did it anyway because you had to stay in business. And then you guys took a pay cut for your executives, but then you got that back pretty quick because Disney World just kept rebounding and rebounding and rebounding. Every month it was getting better and better for customers coming back. It saved your ass. So I found this highly ironic. That was his comment on the subject.
Yeah. So they're like, I can't tell where DeMauro is because it seems like he's not going as hard against DeSantis as Iger is. I mean, for Iger, it's definitely a personal.
Iger's saying they canceled like Nona in retaliation. DeMauro is not saying that. He's saying, we had a change in leadership, which means Iger. Yeah. And we, also are readjusting our business because, they're cutting all kinds of things because they have to, because they're losing money. And but they're still going to spend $17 billion supposedly, but he's being very diplomatic about how he presents it.
Now, where it's going to get tricky, right? We'll bring this up too. The NAACP has issued a travel advisory for the state of Florida. Basically, don't go to Florida. Florida is not welcoming. You're not welcome there.
If you're not white.
If you're not white, if you're not straight, if you're anything other than a cis white male.
For black people and people of color, even though, there's a lot of people at Disney World that work there that aren't straight, that aren't white. I'm just pointing that out there. But it was funny because I can understand them saying this in regards to them saying, because of the parental rights and education bill, fine, I don't agree, but say that's why people can't come because of that. I'm not understanding why people that aren't white are supposed to avoid Florida too. Meanwhile, I want to point out that it is Walt Disney World and Disney that is suing the black man, the prominent black man who worked with the Urban League and all the issues in inner city issues. He's the one dealing with it. They're suing him. They are suing him and added him to their lawsuit, and he just came on board, and it was after the fact. But because he's on the new board, they're suing him. But by all means, it's DeSantis in Florida that black people should avoid.
Yeah.
Yes, Disney, this is like Disney are the ones leading the charge on the writer's strike, telling people they have to come back to work and violate their contracts and telling them how. But it's Warner Brothers who are leading no. See, Disney's doing a whole bunch of stuff, but you notice the media isn't holding them accountable for what they do? Have you noticed this?
Yeah, they're not. It's almost like they spend a lot of money on advertising or something, and they can't afford to piss them off.
Well, they gave the NAACP a bunch of money.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Now, this is Disney got a bunch of awards from the NAACP several years in a row, and yeah, they do give a bunch of money to the NAACP. So they have a pre-existing relationship. So it's not out of the realm of possibility to think that maybe somebody at Disney was in communication with the NAACP to try to possibly tank Florida tourism and then be like, look what Ron DeSantis did.
Right, that's what they're doing. I mean, I can see, the only point they might have had is involving the LGBTQ thing. And even then, I don't think that's necessarily a point. I'm just saying that's only possible foothold they might have had. And somehow that means that other minorities should avoid it too because of Florida hating them. And I'm trying to understand how they got from point A to point B.
That's just it. This is basically let's tank tourism. We'll stick it to you, Ron. The NAACP put out a memo, said that Florida was openly hostile toward African Americans, people of color, and LGBTQ plus individuals.
Meanwhile, Ron DeSantis and the board pointed at Glenn Gilzine, who is a big important person in the Urban League and does all kinds of stuff for inner city Orlando and the area, trying to make sure people are treated fairly and all that. They're suing him after he was appointed, or he was offered a job. I guess in his case, he wasn't appointed so much as he was offered the job. Then they were mad that he was getting $400,000 for the job. Why? Only people allowed to have $400,000 for a job are Disney executives or white people? I mean, I'm trying to understand what the problem is. And I just find it highly ironic that they're all running with this. But meanwhile, they're suing this poor dude because he just got added to the board.
So my understanding of this is because DeSantis was pushing back against critical race theory too, and they said that the travel advisory. And
that's why the critical race theory thing. And most people who aren't that are non-white don't like it either.
This was months ago. right? This is months ago, as I understand it. So
oh my God, critical race theory.
This feels like Disney or somebody at Disney making phone calls to try to get, basically turn everybody against Florida now and be like, it's all Ron DeSantis' fault.
Right after the Ron DeSantis thing happened, Time Magazine does all these pieces on Bob Iger over and over again, and then it turns out Time Magazine's owner has deals with Disney.
Yeah.
I'm like, for other companies, I'm just saying, I mean, if you follow the money, people, and NAACP got a bunch of money from Disney, they got millions from Disney. And then this starts happening. Now, okay, the critical race theory thing, most states are trying to push back against that. And here's the thing, too. A lot of people who aren't white disagree with critical race theory, too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of white people who agree with critical race theory. So
I'm
there you go.
I'm just trying to follow the logic here. You can't go on a Disney World vacation because of the schools in Florida teaching or taking critical race theory out of the classroom.
Right.
And it has what bearing on you if you're traveling from like New York or California?
Oh, most people are going to look at this and be like, this is stupid.
It's petty. I mean, this whole thing it's a pissing match. It's going to go on for months or years. And at this point, my personal opinion is Disney is running out of money and they're going to blame DeSantis. They're going to be like, look, tourism declined. Our revenue's down. It's all because of Ron DeSantis. That stinky cis man, he took all our money away. It's like, no, they were running out of money before DeSantis. It's a very convenient excuse.
Mm-hmm. Like, oh yeah, the Lake Nona thing, they were probably going to cancel that anyway. And they're using this as a reason for why. I just think it's funny. Now, I won't give Josh D'Amaro a benefit of doubt here. He is not running with this as if it's a political chess piece like Bob Iger is running with it as. Yeah. He's staying more like, professionally, like not business-minded, neutral, because if you're ever going to work it out with Florida anyway, this constant like attack thing is not helping.
Well, he's on the front line, so he's in charge of the parks, and he's the one that's going to have to deal with the brunt of it, probably.
I know Josh keeps bringing up the $17 billion in Florida again, and I'm still kind of waiting to see how that goes because one, they just put out of nowhere. Two, they keep canceling everything because I don't think they have the money right now, and that's why they're canceling so many things and firing people because we have another round of firings because cap happened starting yesterday. But there's also the fact that if they're tied up in court with the new board, I don't know how much they can actually get pushed forward, which I think that's what they're counting on. We don't actually have the $17 billion right now. We'll just say, oh, we can't do anything because our hands are tied on the lawsuit we started.
They're gonna use, so this is where it becomes like 4D chess. Like they're gonna use the situation with DeSantis to excuse them pulling the plug on projects they were going to pull the plug on anyway, and not spend any more money and just blame him.
I just thought it was funny, and that's why I wrote this article, because when I saw this, and everybody's running with it, Josh D'Amaro says that the Florida dispute hasn't hurt our bottom line. And it's like, okay, good, it hasn't hurt your bottom line, even though I know that the crowds are really down right now, so that would have been the time to go to Disney World, apparently.
Yeah.
But I'm going to agree that he's correct. It didn't hurt your bottom line, because Florida saved your ass when the pandemic hit. Florida and streaming. Disney World reopening and streaming is what saved Disney's stock, saved Disney's ass. And they're going to sit here and be like that now. But has it hurt them in Florida? No, because it actually saved them. It actually helped them being in Florida. But how quickly they forget when they don't get their own way.
Yeah, well, very typical Disney. So you pack it up and move it someplace else.
That's
Disney.
true. This is not, and then be like, you just a DeSantis fan. I'm not from Florida, so I don't know about, other than this whole situation. I can't tell you how good of a governor he is, but I think I think both he and Disney are taking it way too far. I'm not siding with either one entirely, but I am saying that when it comes to this situation, Disney's just being ridiculous.
Oh yeah, and it's going to continue for a while. So.
I think D'Amaro thinks it's ridiculous too.
He just probably.
I don't know for sure, but I think I get the vibe. He's just like.
He probably just wants to do his job and be like, can we just move forward, please? Universal's coming. Like his job being in charge of the parks is to be like, we have to compete with Universal. We don't have time to sit around and get into a slap fight.
Well, now they're hurting themselves more with this lawsuit because instead of just taking the what you got and rolling with it, they're doing this law, and all this stuff might tie it up even more because the current board that's in power is DeSantis' board, for better or for worse, and they're the ones that they have the final say. And they can sue about wanting their stuff restored, but until then, you know, this board nor the other board can do anything, so nothing can get approved either. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but it'd be this board or nothing until this is all straightened out. And even then, this board might not have a say. So what are you going to do?
I don't know. This is just all about posturing. It's all about posturing.
I know, and it's stupid. Everybody's tired of it. Just fix it and move on.
Fix it and move on. We got to wrap this up.
Yep.
We're going to move on.
Yeah.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.
Bye. Sorry, I yelled loudly.
That's okay. I got the limiter on.
Okay. So
You can tell
PE setting.
Yeah, you can
Wait,
tell.
really? It automatically limits it when I yell?
It does. When the pitch gets too high, it does. Sometimes if you sound like all robotic, it's because it's bringing the decibels down.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Help support the channel. Go to thereef.support and get early access to podcasts, videos, and other content. That's thereef.support.